So I've known Davey, and obviously, Sue as a DeGraio. Gary played here. I keep saying I think that's where Adam got his skating gene, because I don't think it was from Davey. But just it goes back, right? And then the fact that like I said, he was involved with hockey and had played here, and so just a lot of pretty close ties there.
I'll throw one more in here. I'll pass the mic. Scott, Adam had he not signed with the Penguins, he was going to be a captain coming back here that junior year. What were some of the leadership qualities that you'd seen in him those 2 years that as a junior you were ready to give him, and the team was ready to give him a letter?
Yeah, I'm still, I think, a little mad at him for leaving when he did, but we had lost Miska, our best goalie. We lost Pionk, our best D, and Adam was sticking around. He had some offers and came back, and then tough to lose a player like that in July, but I understand why, and you never want to see those players leave your program, but it's moving on to pro hockey. But just the kind of person he was. I think he got along with everybody. I thought the guys loved him. They respected him. I mean, obviously he's a talented player, but just his personality, right? I think you're seeing that in everybody you talk to, right? He got along with everybody. He was fun to be around. Sometimes the life of the party, those things. And I think when you have that, and your teammates see that, certainly, I think that would have been a big reason why we saw him as being a leader. And unfortunately, he left, but we still did pretty good that year. So, but it was a tough loss at the time. And I think he would have done a great job as a leader.
Krista Lawler, Star Tribune. Can you talk about, do you remember first picking him out of a crowd, first noticing him, and then his route here?
Well, we used to have the hockey camps, like I said, I mean, obviously from Hibbing, people aren't, hey, you better watch this kid, right? So I didn't go watch him when he was in Pee Wee hockey. I mean, we saw him here in the summer, and we used to give out, MVP trophies, and I know he got a couple of them. So that was probably my first actual viewing when he was going to hockey camp, but just tracking him, right? And again, for us in our program, getting northern kids, whether they're local or northern Minnesota, was a priority, and he was certainly one of those kids that you track, and the history with his dad playing here too, I think, and hopefully helped that his route here. I think this was a place he wanted to play. His uncle played here, so I think again, I grew up in Hibbing, watched UMD too, and you're watching two programs really. You're watching UMD in Minnesota because that's what was in our state, and so I just think it was kind of a natural, I think. Certainly didn't hurt that he was a pretty talented player. Played D. I know he played D a little bit in high school too, but your best player they're either playing D or they're playing center in high school. So, but he still went to Sioux City, and I still remember him with about 147 pounds. He was really. I remember seeing him after a game in Sioux City, and him and Neil were playing in Sioux City, and I looked at him after the game, and I'm like, we got to put some weight on you. But it never changed his abilities. It never changed his skating. It never changed anything. But he obviously did get bigger, but he was just a little guy that could skate and handle a puck and make plays, and that's never changed.
Hey, Coach. Renee from WDIO. So sorry about all this. I'm not sure how you guys address this with the current team and the current hockey family. I mean, everybody was in shock about what happened, and everyone still has games to play. But is there anything you can share about how you kind of talk to your team about what happened? Renee, we found out before the game. We kind of knew the incident and that it didn't look good, and then right before the game, we were notified that he passed away. So we went into the game. The players didn't really know. After the game, they're obviously aware. There's a few guys on our team that have
a little closer relationships with Adam. But we didn't really say much. We talked about the game. We let it be. We're going to talk today. I want to let it kind of digest a little bit. But we'll talk today, probably shortly after we meet here, and go through, just kind of more of, anytime you lose a family member, it hurts, right? And there's guys on our team, including staff, that know Adam a little bit better, have a little deeper relationship, but that doesn't matter. It does matter that we make sure that we all look after each other and make sure everyone's handling it the right way. And again, with the way the incident itself is scary, right? We're all hockey players, and I know I saw a couple American League guys wore neck guards the next day in their game, and we're not human. You're going to think about that when you play the game. So those are all things we'll probably, talk about over time. But just I want to get our guys together and make sure, we're all there for each other. And some guys probably need it a little bit more. We have our staff, but there's players there that, like I said, have a little deeper relationship that I know it's hurting them. And so we got to get through it together. And that's why you're a team, and that's why you're a family, and that's why we're going to have that meeting and discuss those things.
Hey, Coach, I'm Dan ROKKR with Minnesota Public Radio. You mentioned the neck guards, and I've been reading just a little bit in the national press about maybe increased calls for wearing that kind of protective gear. Do you think, or have you talked to your team about wearing those guards? I mean, do you think some of those things should start to be maybe required to help protect players?
It's always unfortunate when it takes something catastrophic, so to speak, to really grab people's attention. I know I'm on the ice hockey committee. I know there was a member of our committee that talked about the Kevlar undergear. I know the goalies wear it, trying to mandate that. There was some talk about the neck stuff. We're just a committee. It was just an idea, but I do think it's something that needs to be looked at. There's been some close calls. There's been some that we probably haven't heard about. I know there's been a lot of different injuries through, skates, whether it's arms, legs. Our own Alex Stalock went through one of them, not that long ago. So again, I do think it's something that needs to be probably discussed and looked at for sure. We play a game there's risk, but if we can mitigate that in some way, I think it does need to be looked at.
Matt Wellens from the News Tribune. Scott, for you, we heard at the rink right before, a few of us heard before the rink, that Adam had passed. My mind was a fog through that game. I'm wondering what yours is like. What's it like to coach a game like that when you and your staff get that news, right before puck drop?
It was certainly with a heavy heart, I can tell you that. It puts a lot of things in perspective, Matt. Obviously, I've got a job to do. We all have a job to do, and you got to find a way to put that aside for a while. I think it was harder after the game. I think the game takes your mind off that, which is great, whether you're a coach or a player. It's the time before and the time after where there isn't that, right? And I think, with Adam and Sue's there, Garnsey, we've all are pretty close with, and our relationship with Adam, obviously, with those guys all being here, Christian, we had a little moment after, for sure. It was. We were all kind of trying to do our thing before, and I don't know if the players know. I mean, hey, they're on their phones. I don't know, but I certainly know that they found out after. So, the game at the end to me was very inconsequential. It does put it in perspective, So, but we still have a job to do, and it's no different this week. We got to find talk about it, move on, hopefully get strength from it, and stay together. And the beauty of this is hockey is a unique world. You see the outpouring from everybody. I'm not saying other sports, but hockey is unique, and it's pretty touching to know that everybody, has reached out. It's on everybody's radar, and that helps you get through it too.
Alexis Bass, Northern News Now. Coach, I know that as a coach, your job is to build these players up to the next level as people and players. But for you, what's the greatest impact that Adam left on you as a player with that player-coach relationship?
Well, unfortunately, I only had it for 2 years. I wish I could have had it for more, but I just remember. I remember his little smile every day. I remember like his wit. Like he had this little wit. I always say it's the Iron Range humor, but just the impact he had on his teammates too. They all loved him. I mean, it's easy to say that now, but they did. Like he was a fun guy to be around, and I think just him coming from Hibbing, I think. It was nice hearing what, Jarrett and him were pretty close, and just the impact he had there, and kids look up to him. And for me, I remember it was an unbelievable skater. He was just talented. He was a fun player to watch. He was a difference maker. I put him in that elite category from players I've had here. And just very fortunate to have coached him for a couple years and been around him, and he did have a major impact on our program. I just wish we could have won a championship that year, because that was probably one of the best teams I had with that group. And like I said, Matt asked memory. I mean, I've watched that goal probably 20 times already. I haven't seen it for a long time, and I just keep watching it, and just a little movie made, and it just brings back great memories. But yeah, just tremendous kid. It was a pleasure to coach. Very talented, and he definitely made a big impact in his 2 years here. And like I said, the only regret I have is maybe coaching him for another year or 2 years. But good players usually find a way to move on quicker. So, but that's probably.
You're not just a coach, but a dad to athletes as well. Does that give you a different perspective after something like this happens, when you know that two of your own play the same sport?
Yeah, we all have kids. I mean, I think it impacts everybody. I mean, I think, like I said before, you hear of some of the stories. I mean, I think even through this, I heard of some player in Connecticut over the past couple of years that maybe, you don't hear about, right? But yeah, there's risk in the game, and it's scary, and that's something too that in today's world, like you gotta let your players go through that, right? I mean, they're going to all deal with it a little bit differently. Is there going to be some fear? Absolutely. If there's not, you're not human. I mean, I think Riley Tufte said the same thing. He played the game. I mean, he's thinking about it. Don't think any other players just going, that's not. You hope it doesn't happen, but they're all thinking about it. I don't care if it's a cut on the arm. What happened to Adam? I mean, you're going to think about it, and you got to deal with that, and that's why we're all. We're going to talk about that stuff, right? We have. That's why we're a team, and certainly for me as a dad, I think you do address it, but I think everyone's going to learn to deal with that in their own way, and over time, I'm sure it'll go away. But if it's not in your head right away and the thought process, then I don't think you're human. I don't think you can just push that aside. Does it affect others? Probably greater, yes. But I do think it has an effect on everybody that plays the game.
And last thing for me, have you gotten a chance to speak or be in touch with the Johnson family at all?
I've texted with Davey, his dad. So it's just been with them. I didn't know where they were at. I have talked to a couple of alums that have talked to, Davey, guys that have played with him. So I have not talked to his mom yet, but I wasn't sure, because we had heard that they were going over there, and so I didn't want to, intrude. So just I sent a text and probably let things settle a little bit before we connect here, but probably today or tomorrow, try and be in touch with them a little bit anyway. So, but yeah, we're trying to give them their space too. Good. Thank you, guys.